This is almost an idyllic setting, extremely attractive. You can hear the frogs. It's mating season for them. That's the noise that they're making. You could hear, before I started, the geese. We've got moorhens. We've got a couple of species of duck on the lake. Very, very attractive. And what makes this so good, it is really close to the center of Nuremberg. I mean, there's a metro station not that far away from here, and you can be in U-Bahn in the center within 10 minutes. Well, 10 minutes journey time once you've got there. For me, on my bicycle, 20-minute slow careful ride into the center. Absolutely wonderful. 1st of May today, 2024. Isn't this absolutely fantastic? And to be here, I'm parked near here, I'm camping if you like. I've got my motorhome, the motorhome Stellplatz, that's where we leave our motorhomes, is the other side of the lake. So it is pretty magnificent, I would have to say. But here we have a little problem. This is called the Silbersee, and this is in the very heart of the center of the Nazi cult, I would have to say. This area around here is the area of the Nuremberg rallies, where the rallies took place several times in the 1930s and one in the 20s, or two in the 20s. And this does have a problem of its own. And anyway, I'm now going to show you what the problem is. It's this. Bathing forbidden. Danger of death. So, what's caused this problem? Well, this here was due to be part of an enormous construction of the was to be called the German Stadium, and apparently it was even Hitler's idea. This was to be the biggest stadium in the world, and unfortunately, as you can see, or fortunately, whatever, it never actually got built. And instead, what happened? They dug a hole, which is the normal sort of thing, then nothing else. Now, one thing the Nazis weren't very good at is there's something called project management. Project management is when you decide, when you do certain bits of work, and then materials arrive, and then you do the rest, other parts of the work. Different labor crews come onto the site. I know all about this because I had a client in the 1980s who was a project management company, my main client, and as a result I learned all about it. And indeed I did their marketing in Spain at the time. Now, Nazis didn't have such things, which is why you find so many projects that are started but not finished. And there's all sorts of reasons for this. One of them, I think, is the jealousy and the fact that each competing agency was in competition. They weren't working together, they were working against each other. And often, to quote Ian Kershaw, this is how they worked towards the Führer, but this often meant putting down other people. So this is what happened here. Now, in 1945, Nuremberg was liberated, but it was liberated after numerous bombing attacks and fighting for the city centre. So Munich was largely undestroyed, comparatively anyway, but because of the fighting inside Nuremberg and of course the bombing, this city was absolutely destroyed. Now, this meant that there was a lot of rubble and rubbish lying around. Certainly in 1945, nobody was interested in doing anything with a big hole in the ground. And so what happened was this: there was a big hole in the ground, there was lots of rubble from the destroyed buildings, and so as a result, this lake, nearby this lake, the rubble started to be dumped off. Now, this is quite common in many cities, that the rubble was dumped or left lying around in one place. In Warsaw, which was almost completely destroyed, we can see it there as well. So in Warsaw, in the former ghetto, you've got the flats which are there today, which are built on top of the ghetto, so they didn't move the rubble away. But there's another place where they've got this heap, and that is where the rubble was in the southeast of the city. And in Wrocław, Breslau, it's the same. Another city destroyed in fighting in 1945. Of course, Warsaw was destroyed, the ghetto was destroyed in 1943, then deliberately destroyed in 1944. So what happened here was that towards the southern end of the lake, there where I am now, there was the rubble was actually put here, and then what would happen was that the groundwater started to seep into the lake. Now, we had done groundwater control previously, but that stopped during the Second World War. And as the groundwater itself seeped from the rubble, it went into there, and this led to the water becoming contaminated. Now, this situation was made worse by hazardous waste being stuck into the lake. And now, normally what happens is that you're supposed to seal off when you've got waste which has been dumped or landfill. There are sort of materials that are used these days which stops the water leading from the landfill to the contaminate the water, which is then contaminated and goes into rivers and the likes. Now, by the 1960s, this lake had been formed. It got as high as it was going to get, and it stopped getting any higher. But what happened, obviously, you've got this lovely lake, this lovely park, and people wanted to actually use it. I mean, it looks absolutely fantastic, doesn't it? I mean, romantic lake. And there's other lakes here as well, but you know, because of this, the surroundings, the woods, they're absolutely wonderful. Now, not only is it the seepage, but and the rubble, but also it was used as a dump in the 1950s, or as late as the 1950s, I should say. Now, in 1985, there was an attempt to actually counteract the formation of hydrogen sulphide by aerating the lake bed, and this led to an increase in oxygen supply, the object of which was to reduce the sulfate ions. Just say it again. The increase in oxygen supply should prevent the reduction of sulfate ions to hydrogen sulfide by anaerobic sulfate reducing microorganisms. And this did lead to a reduction of hydrogen sulfate, particularly in the concentration in the deep water, but for unknown reasons this stopped working, and so by around 1990 the level of poison in it actually reduced to its original levels. Now, so could the city actually renovate the site? Well, yes. I mean, if you throw enough money at anything, it will do so. But given the costs involved, it's too great. The cost will be absolutely enormous, and so it's left as it is. Now, you may say, oh, how come you've got all these birds living on the lake and the frogs? And the answer for that is, I can't answer you. I don't know. I mean, nature does have a way of evolution. Now, I saw something recently about the frogs, for example, in Chernobyl. So they live in waters contaminated by the reactor. Oh, sorry, I thought I saw an interesting bird there. That was why. So that the frogs have gone black. Those frogs which have gone black in colour stopped being green, they've gone black. The black ones survived, the green ones died out. I can't explain why, but that shows how nature evolves, and evolution does happen very, very quickly. So that is that's happened there. We haven't had contact with the chemicals in the lake, so if we go in, then I understand that something unpleasant could happen to us. You might remember when 9/11 took place, and then there was worry then because of the amount of chemicals and things like computers and etc., and how that would actually be dealt with, which because they haven't actually been removed. Now, it's said there's a smell of rotten eggs. I must admit, I haven't actually felt that. Well, there was one place I thought I did, but then again, I thought it was psychosomatic because of what I was actually thinking about. So maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. I don't know. But anyway, to breathe the air apparently is quite safe. Apparently, if I drop down dead today, then we'll possibly know what actually happened. So I was here in 2012. I did a very short video on the Silbersee, and then today I got up and I thought I'll go for a walk around the Silbersee and actually do this video. See a big sign there, Baden-Württemberg, but they're all the same. All over the place. These signs, and this mightn't be obvious to people I suppose it's obvious to locals. I noticed there was somebody, one of the campers, he was in his swimming trunks today. Of course, he might have gone to another lake, or he might just be a person who likes knocking around in his swimming trunks. But as there are people from other countries who might not understand, having said that, I mean, it's a bit difficult not to understand a skull and crossbones and a sign that says no swimming. If you know, even if you don't know what Baden-Württemberg Lebensgefahr means. So this area around here it's a very attractive area. This was chosen, I think, for the Nazi Party rallies because of the historical significance of Nuremberg. When you walk around, it really looks like an old imperial city. I mean, other reasons that have been given for Nuremberg being chosen for the rallies is because of its central location, and that I would dispute. It would, if you wanted something similar, there's the northern Bavarian town of Coburg, and where Hitler had a day trip to in 1922 for the German Day. I did a video on that, and Coburg has a really imperial look to it as well, but it's much smaller. It might have been suitable. There's a snail crossing the road, the path. Yeah, I'll move the snail over. Don't take the snail off and put the snail. I'll put the snail on the other side, in fact. There you go, there's a bit there. And the snail's fallen over. There we go, snail's back up. And saved the snail from going into the lake. So, Nuremberg you think the central location, I don't know, maybe somewhere like Erfurt, that also has a castle. Maybe there's other reasons, but here, large town, what is clear from reading reports of what the locals thought is that the locals didn't appreciate them. All these people suddenly turning up. One thing, oh, there's a lot of snails here. Oh. Must be a migration of snails. Anyway, so the locals didn't appreciate them turning up. So one thing that comes out is that the lack of toilet facilities for these Nazis or Nazi party members turning up. Particularly, there was lots of Hitler Youth turning up, and the League of German Girls. So, being at the age they were at, they just used anywhere as the toilet, and not only that, they would be eating packed food, prepared food, and then they just threw the packaging down wherever it took their fancy. So this is something that comes across really very clearly amongst people who remembered those days. Now, I've no doubt that for those who were around the time, it must have been really exciting. One thing about Hitler said this, he said he didn't bother him that the adults weren't supporters. He said, I have the children. And this is incidentally is something which really worries me now about Russia today. We can see the Nazi indoctrination of the kids in Russia today in the schools. And okay, here I don't think it had any long-term any major long-term effects after the Second World War, but it did produce these killers in the Second World War. And with the very strong similarities which I've discussed in various videos between the Putin regime and the Hitler regime. Admittedly, Putin doesn't have a well, he has done a Nuremberg style rally, but it's not something it's done on a regular basis. But that is something I see is pretty worrying. I'm smelling the air. Seems to be roughly the same to me as it was before. So there's one thing. Walking around Nuremberg, it is absolutely an incredible place to be. Really, really wonderful. And so if you're thinking of a visit, to me, okay, I really like Berlin, I really like Berchtesgaden, all the Nazi places you see. These are places I feel absolutely but this here, when you look at the bridges across the Pegnitz River, it's absolutely outstanding. I think this lake looks a little different from anything else. There's a couple of gentlemen there just walked past with fishing lines, and now the thing is they're probably using it from other lakes. I mean, I would have thought that taking fish out of this lake was just as dodgy as taking them. Sorry, it was far more dodgy than take them out of anywhere else. It's I haven't noticed anybody fishing on this lake at all. Now we have to the left over here there's a main road leading into the city, and over this side we've got the Nuremberg Trade Fair. I used to come here twice a year, and I saw more yesterday than I did all those times I came here on business visits. Indeed, there was only once in 2012 where I spent a little bit more time to actually have a look around Nuremberg. But it is outstanding, absolutely outstanding. I used to do a lot of these walks like this, sort of unprepared walks, and I stopped doing them for doing things I could actually, when I could sit in front of the computer. So I film it, and then I would dictate it. Because the trouble is, when you do something like this and afterwards you finish it and you think, oh, I forgot to say that, or I forgot to say that, and I feel as though when I do a video I've got to be absolutely correct, whereas when I do a live, if I say something which is incorrect, then okay, it doesn't matter, it's a live, it's a slip of the tongue. Now, to return to the subject of the rubbish, one thing that you can see today, you got a lot of goose excrement lying around, and then in those days there was lots of excrement. That's one of the things that people did complain about a lot, the way that people behaved. Another thing I can't understand actually is why the Nazis actually did this at the beginning of September, which to me seems a bit illogical. Now, the first rally was held in Munich in January 1923, which was odd time to do it, very odd time. Then there was one in Weimar on 26, then 27. Now, a number of rallies were cancelled because of a lack of funds, and also because in 1929 there was a lot of fighting in the street here, so the Nuremberg authorities put a stop to the Nazi Party rally here because of this these problems of the fighting. Here we have the motorhome area there. It's not where I'm staying, but my motorhome's further down, can't see it from here. And but why put on the beginning of September? I mean, I would have thought August would have been better. I don't know when the kids went back to school. If I knew that, then it would be a little easier. Now today the temperature is going to be 27 degrees centigrade, so I'll be going back to my van, changing my clothes, and then going out for a bike ride. Anyway, now coming back here, this is my favourite part of the lake. Fortunately, it's also the closest to where I'm living, so I've taken you on a walk almost around, well, not quite the entire lake, but a large part of it. And there you can see. I'll see if I can link this to some scientific reports. That might make it a bit easier. Here, I'll just finish off with this bird here. So thanks so much for being with me and watching the video if you've got this far. And when I speak off the top of my head, it's not always the easiest, but at least you've got the idea of what's happening here. The poisoned Nazi lake, built on the location of what is to be the biggest stadium in the world. Thanks for watching. I upload every Friday at 2000 hours my time, so I live in Poland and Germany, and often do other videos at other times as well. I'm even thinking of doing 2 videos a week actually. I'm thinking of doing maybe on the Tuesday and on a Friday, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not absolutely certain yet. And so for the moment, for me in Nuremberg, thanks for watching and bye for now.